All right, let's move on to the Bengals. Really interesting situation there. Bengals head coach Zach Taylor said today Joe Burrow is listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Patriots. Burrow wrapped up his first full week of practice since suffering that turf toe injury in week 2. Our Stephania Bell has more on what Burrow is looking to overcome.
When Burrow was taken to the ground in that week 2 sack, his left heel was elevated, so as he absorbed the impact, his left big toe was forced into hyperextension, resulting in a severe turf toe injury. The skeleton's lying on his back, and we're going to focus in on the big toe area, which is formed by the near portion of the toe, the proximal phalanx, and the long bone of the forefoot, the first metatarsal. Right where they meet, that is the base of the big toe. It is covered by ligaments, and in particular, this fibrous band called the plantar plate, which is very thick and helps offer stability to the joint. And we're going to pull the foot off the skeleton so we can see a little bit more the mechanism of injury, what happened to Joe Burrow. The heel is elevated and relative to the big toe, which stays in the ground engaged with the turf, hence the name turf toe, and it puts a gapping stress on those ligaments and the plantar plate, and in a grade 3 injury completely tears them. Working in Burrow's favor is that the injury was to his left foot, not his right, where he would have had to push through the extended toe to drive the ball forward. Expect his footwear to be adapted to include a carbon fiber insert that will help stiffen the shoe and prevent hyperextension stress. His clearance for practice already tells us his surgeon is comfortable with the healing of the repair. But beyond the obvious proving he's ready for football activity, the key to his return is his mobility, and more importantly, his understanding that he needs to protect himself from getting caught under a pile.
Again, an injury that sounds so innocuous, but as we see, it can be serious. Also, Jamar Chase is suspended for this game, so we need to remind folks of that. So, Dan, what are you going to be watching for if Burrow is able to play this weekend?
Yeah, this is remarkable, honestly, that he's back practicing and giving himself the chance to play. I don't want to skip over that because I've had this injury. It's brutal. I still deal with it to this day. Now, mine was on the right, not the left foot. Joe is obviously a significantly greater player than I was, but mine was months. And so the fact that he's even in conversation to play is remarkable. How does Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor handle the line of trying to keep him healthy, trying to avoid getting hit at all, to make sure there's no injury, while also trying to win a football game? This isn't a team that has any form of cushion. They obviously are in chase mode. And so by all means necessary, whatever it takes, it's win mode, which more often than not means you got to put yourself in a little bit of harm. You got to be a little bit risky with hanging on to the football, hanging in the pocket, trying to make the play, while also understanding, like, I'm trying not to get hit. I'm not trying to do any further damage at all to myself and or this injury. And so that's going to be the most interesting thing for me, is just watching how Joe starts the game. Does he get the ball out of his hands ridiculously quick to make sure he doesn't get hit, or is he just in go and play and try and win mode?
I think one thing that concerns me with this matchup in particular is he's probably going to have to drop back and pass like 30 plus times, right? Because on the other side of the ball, I think we both expect New England to have no difficulty in moving the ball on Cincinnati. And then New England's defense, the run defense, is significantly better than the pass defense. The Bengals, don't have a great rushing attack to begin with. So when I think about a world in which Joe does what it takes to win this game, it makes me uncomfortable because I think he would have to throw the ball so much. Yeah. And, he is good at throwing the ball quickly, and there's many times, he can protect himself in that regard. But this is still a very bad offensive line. So don't love the situation for him. I understand why he's doing it, but I worry that that competitor in him is going to override self-protection, and it could be an issue.
The Steelers head to Chicago on Sunday. Moments ago, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin said quarterback Aaron Rodgers is listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Bears due to his left wrist injury. If he can't go, it'll be Mason Rudolph getting his first start really since last year with the Titans when he went 1-4. Great to have both team reporters with us today as they teamed up on Vibe Check, which you can watch on Disney Plus right now. So we have Brooke Pryor, who, as you know, covers the Steelers, Courtney Cronin with the Bears. Brooke, we got to start with you. What more can you tell us about Rodgers?
Well, as we just saw in that video, Rodgers has been practicing with a black wrist stabilizer. It wraps around his thumb. Now, of course, he talked about how it is uncomfortable for him to take snaps in under center right now. So he did a lot of practice taking snaps from the gun. Mike Tomlin said that he felt good about the work that Rodgers did this week, but it's going to come down to this weekend. And I asked Rodgers specifically what has to happen for him to play on Sunday. He says he's got to get cleared and he's got to be able to protect himself. This is not a matter of pain management. It's about his safety.
And that's not the only injury that we're looking at this game. The Bears ruled out their 3 starting linebackers earlier this afternoon. No Tremaine Edmonds, no TJ Edwards, no Noah Sewell. So that doesn't just affect the run defense. And we know that the Steelers can run the ball. They broke 100 yards rushing last week. This is a Bears team that has 22 takeaways and 15 interceptions, both the highs in the league. Tremaine Edmonds is a big part of that. The switch from middle linebacker to the will linebacker spot has allowed him to take the ball away more. Without him, you're looking at DeMarco Jackson, you're looking at Ruben Hippolyte, 2 guys that have combined for 50 total snaps on defense. So very thin at that position. However, we do know that Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon, cornerbacks in this defense who have not played much at all this season, were both full today. They're still on injured reserve. Ben Johnson said, we'll see, very coyly, when asked whether Jalen Johnson's going to play.
Right.
I think that they might wait a little bit longer. Remember, they have that Philly game coming up on Black Friday, so 2 games in 5 days might not be the right play there, but soon.
You don't get much better information than that, Mina. So given everything that you've just heard, what's the key to this matchup if Rodgers is able to go?
Well, I think if Rodgers can't get under center, he shouldn't play, to be honest, especially hearing about those linebacker injuries. You already have an advantage if you're Pittsburgh with your under center outside zone run game. The Bears defense has allowed 5.7 yards per carry on outside zone this year, so that's a mismatch, and then you amplify that with the linebackers, and you want a quarterback who can get under center and then play action off of that run game. And if Rodgers can't do that, I think they're hamstringing their offense and also reducing their ability to attack where Chicago is weakest, especially with those injuries.
Let's go to the other side then. I mean, Courtney, the Bears have won 3 straight 1-score games. This has been part of their MO this season. What's been the focus for Caleb Williams this week?
It's been the deep ball accuracy, because there's 2 plays that they really wanted back from that Vikings game. Both of them were the first 2 third downs, a deep shot to Rome Odunze that Ben Johnson said, you can get away with that one. He missed him by about a yard. You're still getting in a rhythm at that point. And then there was one to DJ Moore that he said, you have to deliver on that ball. And both of those were against the blitz. And what Caleb Williams has faced now against the blitz this season was a very aggressive approach against the Vikings. The Steelers, as we know, blitz at the 4th highest rate in the league. 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he's under or overthrowing receivers 28% of the time. It's about staying in there, taking a hit if it's necessary. On that one that came to DJ Moore, he felt Dallas Turner creeping off the edge. He said, I just got to stay in there, deliver DJ a good ball, because that's one he really wanted back from last week.
We know someone that may or may not be one of those guys creeping in the pocket, taking or putting a hit on Caleb Williams is Cam Heyward, who popped up today on the injury report with an ankle injury. Now, he didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Those were just regular rest days, but he was seen in the locker room afterward in a walking boot. So he is questionable. Alex Highsmith is doubtful with a pec injury, and Darius Slay, their starting cornerback who is in the concussion protocol, is listed as questionable. Although he did practice, he was limited today. He practiced at other points this week. So the Steelers defense is just as banged up. But when we asked Tara Lawson, defensive coordinator this week, what the magic word was for containing Caleb Williams, he said plaster, because as we know, Caleb Williams is an escape artist, and as Tara Lawson said, he is a young player on the rise.
I keep hearing Dan Orlovsky reacting to all this stuff. So Dan, because there's so much news, what do you think the Bears should game plan for facing the Steelers defense?
Yeah, the reason I'm reacting like that is that was honestly both well done by Brooke and Courtney. So much information. It would change my pick. So outside of the Cam and Highsmith stuff, I thought that one of the things that Pittsburgh has still shown defensively to struggle with is if I run the football with motion. I talked about it on 2 days ago that this is an offense that is doing an outstanding job of running the football in their split zone scheme with motion. And so this is something that Pittsburgh at the second level has just struggled with for a couple years now, and it's reared its ugly face for over the past couple weeks, and teams have had success doing it. And so if I was Chicago, one, that's something that I like to do with Swift, who's him and Unguy, who are both very good at it. something I like to do, and it's something that Pittsburgh struggles with. And if you're going to tell me no Highsmith and potentially no Cam Heyward, this should be a doing that 35, 40 carry game.
Okay, so Dan, Mina, and I, when you look at our picks, we're gonging ourselves again. We are all on Chicago, although Dano said, maybe had he heard this report earlier. Why are we wrong, Brooke?
I mean, look, a couple weeks ago, nobody thought the Steelers could beat the Colts. And then what happened? The Steelers smashed the Colts, who I think, have a pretty good run game, if I'm not mistaken. So Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers love being underdogs.
Oh, yes, they do. They thrive in that role. Ladies, thank you. That was awesome.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah, I know. It was great.